Okay, I'll tell you the rest later. No worries. Then me and her just got into talking about like cooking dinner because I was like, "What are you gonna cook then?" But
well, that's an excellent question. I'm making my husband a hunter-gather dinner.
what'd you hunt and gather?
He's gathering me a bulgogi sandwich, hopefully some pot stickers, some gyoza. I hope I said that right. And then he said that we have to have salads with it, which I'm okay with because we have like more than half a cooked chicken in the fridge that we had purchased Monday to have dinner salads with. So part of my let's lose weight and not be a fatty anymore, which my favorite chef in the world called that put down the fork fatty diet. That's what she called it. Yeah. I love her.
Fork down, fingers in.
She was Princess of the Mist. Quite a long time ago. She was my favorite Princess of the Mist. Anyway, she calls it the put down the fork fatty diet. And part of our put down the fork fatty diet is eating a lot more salad. Now, I usually serve salad when I'm making dinner, but I haven't been making dinner because I started the new job. And we've been doing the podcast. So on Wednesdays in particular, he goes out and hunter gathers for us. But Monday night, on my way home, I was like, I really think we should do a big salad. So he's like, okay, let's go to the store. Got home, went to the store, picked up a rotisserie chicken for like $6 at Rayleigh's. Tore that shit apart. Like, there was a carcass at one point. My husband was like, done. I'm like, no, you got to turn that thing around, get the oysters out. You know, like there's still good stuff on the back. So we got a lot of chicken. And I just shredded it up and put it on top of this huge salad. And that's what we had for dinner for Monday night. We did something else last night, so I wasn't feeling great. But tonight he was like, we need to eat that salad and we need to eat that chicken. So I'm going to get you a sandwich, but we're having salads too. That's fine. I still want a bulgogi sandwich. So he's hunter gathering some bulgogi sandwiches.
We've been having lots of salads lately. Mainly, well, they haven't been happening as much lately, but for like almost all throughout like spring and winter, we've been having salads because my mom grew lettuce and a couple different types of lettuces and cabbages in her garden that were growing really well throughout the whole last few months. So we've just been eating very healthy. I've been very healthy. A lot of fiber.
You have you sent me some pictures this weekend too, if I remember correctly. You were doing stuff around the chicken coop, I think it was.
Oh yeah, I actually just planted today. I planted I'm probably a little late, but we'll see. I planted some heirloom Atlantic giant pumpkins. That big ones. I planted some lamia pumpkins, the white ones.
Mm-hmm.
Some gourds. So I'm probably a little late with those because I think I was supposed to do it last month, but we'll see. And then
it's California. We're having a weird year.
So. Right. They threw some cucumbers and some. It's either, I mean, are they the same? Tuscan melon and a cantaloupe? It's one or the other, but it's one of the cantaloupe varieties. We threw one of those melon things in. And then I was gonna plant some squash, but we didn't have any more in the bag, so I gotta get more. And we are going to plant some watermelon because every year watermelon out here does.
It does.
And we always get the sweetest ones, so I gotta go get some more watermelon seeds because we're all out.
I honestly don't understand what it is about watermelons in California, in Sacramento in particular, because, like, we have a lot of clay. You don't have to go very far, and you hit clay. You know, yeah. It's one of those things, like...
That's why you till it and you add your own soil.
Right, you gotta add your own stuff in, otherwise you're just gonna hit clay just underneath the topsoil. So... you would think with it being a vine and how well it grows that maybe it wouldn't do well in clay, but
I gotta till up the area behind the garden.
Some of the best plants that grow in Sacramento are viney plants. Squash grows like crazy here. I mean,
yeah.
So get ready for squash, you guys.
Squashes. The zucchinis and just gigantic squashes.
Yeah, but when it comes to, I gotta say about zucchinis, like, I love my garden when I can have a garden. I don't have one right now because I live in a shitty little apartment. But when it comes to squash in particular, you don't ever want it to grow that big. And this was something that I learned the hard way when my mom had planted a garden and we lived on zucchini for probably like 3 years. And they would just grow because, I mean, it was our job as kids to go out and harvest the zucchini, and we weren't always prompt about it. So, they'd come in
Huge.
at least 2 feet long, huge freaking things, They had no flavor though. The bigger they get, the less flavor they have. I mean, we probably could have won some kind of award if we had entered into the county fair or something, but like, they're not
good thing to do with those
when they're that big.
Well, what you can do is like, I mean, they don't have too much of a flavor, but you can hollow it out, and you can do whatever you want with the mush. You can flavor it up if you want. But
we did.
You do like a stuffed bell pepper thing.
But it didn't have the zucchini flavor.
Stuff.
I love
healthy,
zucchini. Love zucchini. I love to like pan fry it with a little bit of butter, a little bit of salt.
Then I know I'll be definitely giving you a ton of ours. We get way too much.
I make a zucchini soup that is phenomenal during the winter. I haven't made it because I haven't had any fresh zucchini, and I'm not paying, $2 a pound at the grocery store. But it's got to have the flavor. Like, there's no point in cooking zucchini if it doesn't taste like zucchini. If it just tastes like mush, which isn't a taste.
And I feel like that's one of a big thing with like a lot of people who don't want to like cook and everything, because you have to go buy all the ingredients and they can get really pricey. That's why I feel like gardens are always like, they're hard too, but it's always a lot more satisfying, I find, when you've like spent the time and energy and money to till your own crops. And yeah, sometimes it's way too much work though, but like, I'm the one who always rototills for my mom, and that alone is just that earth is dry. You always have to soak it, and you learn these things as you go. So it's all about a learning process, the entire way of gardening. And I had to learn the hard way that same thing with the zucchinis. I liked when they get huge. I'm always like, it's baseball, and they taste like booty, but it's all good. But however, I am getting ready to till the back garden of where I'm going to put all the wheat for us. So we will be having wheat for our craft.
Oh yes,
for that.
So we haven't talked about that yet. Speaking of craft, so one of the things that Kayla and I had talked about doing, especially in the coming, it takes a while to get started, let's be honest, but for hand fastings or for harvest festivals, crafting wheat crowns, and providing them through MMC, because I know this from personal experience. It's hard to find one that isn't fake. I made one myself for my hand fasting. It took about, if I were to put all my time together, it probably took about 8 hours to complete. And it was expensive. I think I spent like $80 on it. My husband's gonna kill me when he watches this. He's like, "You're gonna use $80 on bearded wheat?" But it looks phenomenal.
That's one thing I have to find though, is like what grows best out here though, and whether or not I should get a little like a greenhouse instead too, so I could grow the different types if they don't do as well. Like we want bearded wheat specifically for those,
right? But I mean, we haven't tried. That was the only wheat I could find, honestly, that I could get a couple of bunches together. It was hell to put that thing together. Let's be honest. Like my cat was trying to eat it every single time I sat down to try and weave it. But once it was done, like it's hanging on my wall. If anybody follows me on TikTok, you'll see it on my wall. Kayla's seen it. She's come over to my place. There's a reason it's up on the wall. I ain't getting rid of it. I put too much time and too much money into it. But it's hard to find things like that. And I think once we're able to offer something that we've grown ourselves and then are able to make ourselves and offer it to those who are looking for something like that for their hand fasting or for their harvest ritual, like that's just gonna make me feel 10 times better because I like
Yeah.
making things for people. But I have a question for you, Kayla, and even for you, Cliff. When you hear the term cottage witchery or kitchen witchery, what do you think of?
Well, yeah, you go first. I was talking for too long. You go first.
Oh, sorry.
No, you
Honestly,
go.
the first thing that comes to my mind? Hansel
Yeah.
and Gretel.
Is that for the cottage witchery or for the
Yes.
kitchen witchery?
Well, both. I mean, they went to a cottage in the woods, and there was a kitchen in it. The witch tried to eat them, so that's it's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's not the first thing that I know is correct.
Hey, it's honest. What about you?
Well, I always thought that like the first thing is that I always thought they were separate. So I always thought they were two different things, but like you could combine them obviously because I always thought like cottage witch was more like predominant fish like this. Cottage witch right there out in the nature in the cottage. And then kitchen witch was predominantly like you could be anywhere like but in the kitchen. Like that's just because I never really like looked into cottage witchery too much. I also thought it was mainly just like a fun label that was used like within the Tumblr verse, so I never really got too much into it. But I know about like the kitchen witchery. I feel like is more like you do a lot of your work in the kitchen, and you cook a lot. That's what my first impressions of it are, or you just do a lot of work in the kitchen with herbs and.
I like it.
What's
I like
the other
it.
word? I'm trying to think of the other word. Herbs and plants. There you go.
Herbs and plants.
Yeah,
herbs
food.
and plants.
Herbs and plants. Well, I was trying to think of like another word for like food, but like couldn't think of the word food, but
Sustenance? That's a good one.
sustenance. Herbs and sustenance.
So, I would agree with you, Kayla. Like when I think of kitchen witchery and cottage witchery, I kind of separate the two. Like you could be a kitchen witch and be cottage witch, but you're not necessarily a cottage witch if you're a kitchen witch. Like it's like a rectangular square type argument, right? And I have found in a couple of places that they do tend to separate them. Kitchen witchery is all about food, and cottage witchery is all about hearth and home. However,
those are the terms. Thank you. I couldn't think of like the right terminology. Thank you.
However, they are the same damn thing. Kitchen witchery, cottage witchery, same damn thing. And that's because when you're a kitchen witch, you're doing the same things that you're talking about when you're talking about fixing your garden. Like that's one of those things. Like if you're going to be cooking something, you want to know that the ingredients that you're using are the best. So what are you going to do? You're going to plant them and take care of them yourself. Now that doesn't go for everybody. Okay. When the stuff that we talk about on this video podcast, that's just our interpretations of it, right? These are our interpretations of different paths and crafts. And the same thing with kitchen and cottage witchery. I think, though, having looked into it, it makes sense that cottage and kitchen witchery were the same thing. Because where is the heart of a home? People will say it's the dining room or the kitchen. Why? Because that's where everybody comes together to share a meal. And traditionally, cottages used to have their hearth in the main area. There's only one area, your hearth, that's not only going to provide you with heat, but light and a source to cook your dinner in. So why wouldn't it encompass it all? Makes sense to me now that I, have looked into it, and I don't really know why I ever separated the two. To be absolutely honest, like now that I've looked into it, it's just one of those things like, why did I ever do that? But I have to say though that you outdo me in the cottage and in the kitchen witchery, because although I feel like a lot of my craft is done in the kitchen, you take that above and beyond. Like the stuff that you post on Instagram come Sabbath.
Oh yeah, I like to get real with it. I love that.
You do. Like Cliff,
plan
if
it
you ever get a
out.
chance to get on Instagram, follow her.
I'm on
Because-
Instagram, I just rarely ever look at it.
Like, I know she's probably got something planned for Beltane. You do, don't you?
And yeah, I have a few. I brought them out too because I have a list. I really want to try to make some bread, maple hearth bread. I saw a recipe and it has maple syrup in it. I love maple syrup, so let's try that. And then fried honey cakes. I've never had honey cakes before, so might as well try those and try them fried. And I might try making either a Beltane cake or Beltane passion cakes, because I saw them all on I saw a few variations of each recipe across the internet, and so I think I'll pull from the ones I like, because I like to pull from all different recipes to make one recipe, and then I cook that, and then usually it's how I like it, because I usually know what herbs I have locally available to me, or which is what I have or what I'm growing, and especially if I can use what I'm growing, I'd prefer to use that in my Sabbath cooking, because I have my whole house is just encompassed by rosemary, 3 different types, and I have no idea what types. I just know they're all different. And I looked it up once, I forgot to write it down. I'll do that again. I have my giant lemon balm bush is giant again, and I got thyme, oregano, 2 different types of thyme. I got 3 different sages. Now I have a pineapple sage too, and I have hops too. I want to try brewing some beer one of these when they actually come back. If they come back, I want to try that for one.
I'm trying to get a brew kit together. I have the mead still percolating in the closet, and I have the wine that I need to start. But I told Brett that I need to start learning how to brew some beer, so I might come to you for hops, because I have grains of paradise due to the Skyrim spices that I gave you guys.
Right, that's right. Oh, and I gotta try those. I think I'm gonna use some of them for. There's a stew I might make, or a chicken. There's a chicken I might do, and I might use it for that.
We used the Stormcloak spices with a pork tenderloin, and that was pretty tasty. You wouldn't think it, because it's got some anise type smell to it, that licorice kind of smell.
I like
it. It's actually not anise, it's fennel. It's fennel that's in there.
Oh, that's right.
Smells like anise. But it actually mellowed the fuck out when I made some gravy. So
I don't know if we're growing fennel this year. Usually we do. And so I can take the seeds and I'll have fennel too. I don't know. And you have the whole stalk, But I don't know if we're doing that this year. Ours, that grows really well out here too.
It
and
does.
That's a big thing about finding what grows well where you live and everything. Like the book here has, if you look in the back, you know how it's 500 different things for promoting happiness. Yeah. But what do you really have that's accessible? And you taught me to actually really focus on what is accessible and focus on those things. Don't focus on the other things that you don't really have, or it's not going to be as easy to find. And you don't have to get the fanciest of stuff, rosemary works for so much.
It does. It really does.
It's I have so much dried out.
Just on a side note, because I don't know if you guys remember, since this is our first show on YouTube, there are people chatting in the YouTube comments.
Oh, yes, I see.
Hi, everybody. This is the first time this has happened, because this is our first YouTube live, so nice.
We have KatieCat924 says cooking is alchemy. I don't know much about alchemy, so I don't know. You can take that.
So, okay. We can. My husband and I have this discussion all the time. Okay, what is alchemy versus what is potion making? We'll put it that way, potion making. Because I will say that at MMC we make a lot of freaking potions. Okay, Kayla is her very first assignment. Learning under me was formulate a potion. And
it's over there.
How long did that take you to formulate? Just roughly, actual hours, not the span it took you, but how much time did you actually put into it, and what did you learn from that?
I'm still putting time into that because I'm trying to formulate incense for it, and I'm having a struggle. I'm riding the struggle bus on that.
Okay, so. But that wasn't exactly the assignment. I like that you expanded on the assignment, but the assignment itself, how much time did you spend on that assignment?
I remember. It wasn't. We didn't.
It
Spend,
was a while.
I
It was
spent a while mainly because I kept taking forever to actually do it, but we got together and we finished it up. I remember that.
Yeah.
And we finished formulating. So maybe like, I wouldn't say it took like 5 hours or anything, but like consistent work, maybe like.
Were you writing your own formula, or were you working off of a recipe?
She had to formulate like from scratch. I gave her something. I gave her the option of what she would want to formulate for, which she looked at what we were doing and said, "Well, we don't have something for this. I would like to formulate on that premise." I said, "Okay." And then she had to work from scratch. I gave her a basic outline of like how I do my other potions, and she used that as, I would say, like as a template, but the entire formulation was hers.
I think why it took me a little longer though was because I kept trying to find specifically for doing the incense, and then we formulated just a one for, I think, what did we do it for? Was it for the candles? I think it was for the candles.
I think so. I think we took your formulation and moved it over to a to loaded and
the loaded votives.
Loaded votives.
Because I remember it was the rice
loaded votives.
Ooh, the rice and nothing.
So the comment that just popped up in the chat was, you combine the ingredients to make something completely new. It transforms the base ingredients. Yes, that I would say is alchemy. That would be within the mystical science realm. This is something my husband and I argue about all the time. He is a chemist, and we joke. I joke. He just kind of rolls his eyes at me. But the few times that he's in the kitchen, he is experimenting or formulating his mad science things. And when I'm in the kitchen, I'm crafting or I'm brewing. It's funny when we talk about it, because he's doing fermentations, which is I would say it's a very weird science. It is a science, like it's very precise. And then when I get in the kitchen, I'm like, I'm throwing this in and I'm throwing this in and I'm throwing it. Like, there's no science to it, except for when I'm baking. I would say, based on what Katie Cat says, that yes, you combine ingredients to make something completely new. That would be considered alchemy. However, that's not cooking, because you're not really transforming your base ingredients into something entirely new. Baking, though, that sugar, you're never going to be able to pull that sugar apart from that loaf. You're never going to be able to pull that grain of wheat out. That's never going to revert back. However, if you're cooking something, you'll be able to pull that sprig of rosemary out. You'll be able to, maybe not the salt and the pepper. Maybe that may be too finely ground, but you can still pull other things apart. I wouldn't consider that alchemy in that traditional sense.
You might be able to take the rosemary sprig out, but what if it already see some of the rosemariness into it? I know that's not a word, but I made it a word.
You're talking about like the
yeah.
essence oils and stuff like that?
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to pull that out, but you're still, that's
an alchemy right there.
What I mean is you're not actually breaking down the base components like you would in a scientific manner. Like it's not taking oxygen and hydrogen and making water. You're taking rosemary and flour and butter and making a gravy. The rosemary's still its own self, its own thing.
This is completely side note, but it has to do with undoing cooking. One time I was, really, and I was eating cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and I turned to my friend and I was like, guys, when you eat cookies, when you chew them, you make them back into dough. I'm unbaking the cookies in my mouth. You can unbake cookies. It was the most greatest moment of my life. But that's how you unbake cookies, is you chew them, and they'll turn back into a dough.
Oh my gosh, we saw something.
That is a total stoner statement to make.
Look who's making it.
I know, right? Oh, it was good times. Unbaking the cookies in my mouth. It's a note that's saved in my phone forever too. Every new phone I get, it's still there. So I remember that.
We saw something just recently that said fresh cookie dough or fresh baked cookie dough, and somebody was like, dude, that's just cookies. Like, yeah, it is. Who would try to market it as fresh baked cookie dough? Like, what the heck?
I'd be in the store, just go, oh my gosh, fresh baked cookie dough, guys. That'd be me. You could sell that to me.
Here's what I need in my life, and this is when Brett is comfortable. Come onto the show. I need Brett to tell us stories about him breaking bad in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh. Actually, I have been begging him to join us. And for those who are going back and actually watching some of our older episodes, like, you can kind of see me like motion to him. He's not here right now. He just walked in. But normally he's like sitting here listening to my side of this podcast. I know he doesn't appreciate it, but he doesn't want to turn it on either. Oh, he's giving me a dirty look. Dirty look. No, I really want him to come on and talk about what he does in the kitchen, because honestly, like, some of the stuff that he makes, I really, really enjoy. And I know that, Cliff, you've gotten to try some. Kayla has yet to, because we keep forgetting to give her a jar.
Yeah, I'm neglected.
But, like,
I've given you my jam.
I know, and we love your jam. We put it on brie.
So good.
I think. I might have gotten blackberry jam. I don't remember now. But what Brett likes to do when he gets to cooking, and he doesn't cook traditionally very often, because that's my kitchen. You stay out of my kitchen. Is he likes to research his recipes so that he can find, like what you do, Kayla. He likes to pull recipes and look into them, and he'll take stuff out of one and put it in another, and and it can take some time.
Oh yeah, I actually
did
that
some time
for school once.
to cook.
They made us do that, pull from different recipes to make a.
Are you eating mozzarella sticks without me? Oh.
Now I'm offended. Where's mine? I want mine.
He's giving me those looks. He's like ducking out of the kitchen, like that. Like I said, he just got home.
Do you keep track of all the like do you have your own recipe book of things that like you've made, or do you just like pull from all sorts of recipe books for you personally?
That's actually a great question. I don't write a lot of recipes down. There are some recipes that I do have written down, and the one that's coming to mind is because it's my great grandmother's. I have that one written down. But a lot of my personal recipe stuff that I've come up with, I don't have written down, and I probably should. I have a leather-bound journal that I was actually like pasting some of my recipes into, because I have a recipe tin that I like to write things on. Like, I see something on a television show and I'll write it down, or I find something in a magazine, I'll cut it out, put it on a card, so I have it for later in case I ever want to try it, ever want to make it. I never absolutely do, but it's there in case I want to.
So I want to go to Goodwill or somewhere and look for like old recipe cards, like those tins or whatever, like the old ones that people would have, and see if anyone's like donated any of those, and like go find like old people, like old family recipes through there or something. I kind of want to do that now.
I do too. We should go hunting.
I'm writing that
let's
down.
Put it in the Bujo.
Oh yeah, it's all the way over there. I'm gonna write it down in my video notes.
So no, I don't write a lot of my recipes down, and honestly, that was true even for my craft. By the way, you had something pop up on your screen. Never mind, it went away.
My screen?
Yeah, I saw it on the YouTube live.
That's we're actually having some streaming issues right now. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, so there's going to be a brief hiccup while I turn my VPN on to see.
I very early on would write stuff in it, like my formulations for potions or my spells, and then I hit my 20s and I stopped, because I was always casting the same spells. I just had them memorized. Like, I didn't even write down my rituals anymore. I just had them memorized because I did the same ones every year. the same time with the same people, you know, and if I didn't remember, then the next person did. But lately, because we've been doing MMC and really trying to pinpoint the things that work, I've actually been writing those formulations down. I haven't been doing it with my cooking, which I should, because again, I do a lot of my craft in my kitchen. I probably should start doing that. Like my favorite thing in this last year to make, and it was at Brett's insistence, was stew. Oh my gosh. I hate beef stew. I grew up with canned beef stew, like Denti Moore, and it always reminded me of dog food, of canned dog food. And I hated it. I hated it. Same with like chili. I can't eat chili because the same reason. It just reminds me of dog food.
I love chili.
I don't like chili. I don't like beans. I like pinto beans and refried beans in particular, but I hate beans and I hated stew. And Brett looked at me and was like, please just make me some stew. It's cold. I want some stew. Give me some biscuits and stew. So, I made stew. And then I made stew again and again and again and again. And it was like a thing where we'd have like 3 days of stew because I would make my Dutch oven full of it. He got me the Dutch oven, I think, with the purpose of asking for stew. Not sure. Can't say
it was
for
an
sure,
incentive.
But I think
Definitely.
so. I asked for it for my birthday. He got it for my birthday. He got me a really nice knife for our anniversary, and I made stew. And we would have stew for 3 days because I'd made so much, and then it was time to make more stew. And we ate that for like maybe a month and a half, probably 2 months, before I was like, okay, I'm done making stew. It's Christmas. I'm gonna make something else. And I made a standing rib roast instead. And then we saved the rest of the prime rib and the bones so that I could make stew again. And they're still in the freezer waiting for the temperature to drop again where it's time to make stew. And I love it. I love making it. Takes a while to make stew. But I had to research how to do it. Like I had always known like it was going to be a process because chuck roast is a tough meat and you got to have the right tools. But it gave me a lot of appreciation for the women before me who were making pot roasts and chuck roasts and stew from scratch. And I have to say, we went to Tahoe for a mini vacation just a couple of weeks back. And I had stew at a restaurant. And I did not like it. And you know what my husband said to me? It's not as good as yours. And that just was like, because
everything's better homemade.
Everything is better homemade. And my husband likes to think he's Gordon Ramsay sometimes.
Don't we all?
So,
and yeah.
I make a lot of stews as well. But for me, the secret, I don't do slow cooker stews anymore.
Oh, really?
I have a pressure cooker.
Oh, the hot pot.
Well, it's
I
not
want
Instant
one.
Pot. It's a different brand, but yeah, it's a pressure cooker, and that's how I do all my stews. I used to do them in the slow cooker, and slow cooker's fine. 4 hours on high or 6 hours on low. But I actually tried doing a eternal stew where you make a base and you just basically, as you're eating it, you also add stuff to it, so it never diminishes. It was good for about a week. And then it started getting kind of funky, and Tara's like, I'm not going to eat this.
It was a good test.
There's a way to do it. I haven't figured out how to do it. So that, and from what I understand, it's better if you do it in a cauldron over an open fire. You just keep the fire going, so it's constantly keeping the stew hot, so that it's not
it's not breeding the bacteria.
Yeah. It's not it's not turning into an organism.
Now it's an experiment for
science
my
project.
husband.
Whereas, my wife just made the comment she cooks everything by smell, which she does. She has an amazing ability to just, smell and go, okay, it needs this, or it doesn't need this. Her sense of smell is ridiculous. It's freaking. She smells things that I can't.
Well, that makes me worried about the spices I sent over now.
No,
I think it smells great.
I only have issues with certain spices like rosemary. Rosemary can die in a fire.
Hey, it actually keeps the mosquitoes away. We'll get to that next.
With that being said, my wife also doesn't experiment a whole lot. I mean, she can and she has. And she's going to hit me as soon as I go inside because I'm going to mention the death raviolis. But,
what's a death ravioli?
I'm interested now. What kind of sorcery is this?
Garlic she used.
Oh man, I'm just like, give me the whole thing. I love garlic.
Yeah, she substituted bulbs for cloves.
That's me.
I mean, that works for some things, actually.
We have a whole jar full of it.
We could have killed burping garlic for a week. It was crazy. I could have killed vampires from 100 yards.
Hey, your blood was very, very purified.
It wasn't terrible. I like garlic. I like lots of garlic. It was overkill.
I douse everything in garlic.
She says.
I put my garlic in oil and I let it soak in that oil, so then it's garlic infused oil, and then I put the garlic and the oil in everything.
See, now we're
and then I have to make more.
Oh yes.
I like to deep fry butter with a butter sauce.
Oh. Yeah, pretty much. I'm gaining
weight just listening to this.
I have everything is a side to my garlic. Garlic is the main thing. I saw this girl do pickled garlic on TikTok, and I have to try it now.
Brett does pickled garlic.
Amazing, and it looked hot and spicy, and I'm about to try it. So I'll let you guys know.
Brett doesn't share it because Brett doesn't share it because it's kind of expensive, but it's like pickled or fermented garlic. And instead of like the stuff that we brought over to you, Cliff, it's actually fermented in honey. And I swear, every time he opens the jar, like all I smell is like the inside of a Panda Express, and it just makes my mouth water. It smells divine.
I want bees so that I can have honey and so that I can have beeswax.
And yeah, fresh garlic is spicy. Like if it gets pulled out of the ground and then put into something, it's spicy.
We grew it for a bit.
Local honey. Let me talk to my brother and see where his hives are at the moment.
I'm gonna need some more for more mead because I think my first batch is gone.
Actually, closer to you than he is us. He lives in Jackson.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He's got a bunch of hives up there on his property, and then he's also got hives up in Oregon on his dad's property. His dad has a hazelnut orchard, so he gets a really good hazelnut honey.
Oh wow,
that sounds so good.
And the hives that are out on his property are mostly clover and star thistle.
Nice. So why?
Are you gonna make chicken stock? Real quick, are you gonna make chicken stock? Speaking of like stews, are you gonna make chicken stock out of your rotisserie chicken bones?
I already tossed them. I don't have the time to. Otherwise,
I'm not even looking at you anymore.
I'm sorry. I talked to Brett about doing it before, and it's just now that I'm working full time, I don't want to put them in the crock pot and do it because I don't know if that would be. I don't know if it'd turn out good, to be perfectly honest. And I'm going to say this right off the bat, I love my electric cauldron. I really do. And I love my Instant Pot. I have a smaller Instant Pot. It's not an Instant Pot brand, but it is a smaller one. I could, like, if I'm making mashed potatoes, my potatoes go in the Instant Pot, and when they get done, they go into my KitchenAid mixer. Makes the best mashed potatoes ever. And I don't have to do a cotton picking thing except for add my sour cream, my salt, and my garlic. That's it. That's all I got to do. Perfect mashed potatoes every time. And I don't even peel them. It's fantastic. Delicious. So I love my electric cauldrons. However, I am not going to leave the electric cauldrons on while I'm at work. because I have a cat, and knowing him, he'd be like, "Oh, this smells delicious," and then knock something off the very small counters that I own in this shitty apartment. So, I haven't made chicken stock with them. Doesn't mean I'm not going to. I did make beef stock out of the trimmings from the prime rib, but then I had to throw it away because I wasn't making stew after that. I'd started working. That's why the stew story ended, is because I went back to work. And stew takes a lot of time, and I was not going to be working early in the day trying to get stew done. And I know my husband's probably sad about that. But I just have to find that balance where I can get in and actually do the cooking that I enjoy doing and the craft that I enjoy doing and work at the same time. I know there is a way. I just don't have that many spoons.
I'm going to make chicken stew with one of my chickens who's getting old. But I know since their meat is very tough when they're old, I probably should make stew out of it.
You got to braise that shit.
Mm-hmm. We're also going to be picking up new chickens. So we're going to be getting more chickens. We're going to
get some ducks. We want duck eggs.
My mom won't let me have ducks, and I'm trying to convince her. My grandma thinks we should get ducks too, so I'm probably just going to buy a duck and just put it in there.
Oh, I need to come by and get some eggs from you guys so that I have more eggs for cured egg yolks.
I'll bring you some. I'll just bring you some. We'll have more chickens.
Do you want some peacocks?
They're mean.
I love peacocks, though. Like, I know people around here who have them, and they are mean, but I love them. I used to deliver to them all the time.
So, my best friend who lives in Granite Bay has about 20 that came over from the neighbors and are now living at his house.
Is he trying to get rid of them?
Well, he likes peacocks. 20 is kind of much.
I'm going to go get them.
He's been trying to get me to take some. I'm like, I can't have peacocks where I live.
You live so close to the road, too.
Yeah,
I think I can have these peacocks.
What do you think Odin's going to do with a peacock? I mean,
play with it? In the most terrible way possible.
It's going to be Velociraptor versus Direwolf. I mean,
it's not going to be a pretty picture.
Actually very interested in some peacocks, so we'll have to talk about these peacocks.
I'm definitely interested in some peacock feathers.
Heck yeah, I'm definitely interested in the peacocks. I'll put them around my yard. I've got fencing.
Let's bring this back, though, because I know you asked something during the pre-show. What tools or what kind of kitchen witch setup, I guess, do I have? And honestly, I know I've said this before. My kitchen looks like a kitchen. If you follow me on TikTok, which I, again, do not expect anybody to do, I actually did a quick little, like, you're a pagan witch if type bullshit. It was very early in the morning. My husband was not happy when he found out. My kitchen looks like a kitchen. I have, with the exception of, I have an Instant Pot. I have 2 different crock pots in 2 different sizes. I have a lot of cast iron. And yes, I have my special tools. Like, there is a knife in my kitchen my husband's not allowed to use. That's my knife. He got it for my anniversary gift. It was expensive. It is steel, not stainless. Well, I don't think it's steel. I think it's actually iron. And I picked it out for a particular reason. Stainless steel kitchen knives are not the best knives. They dull way too easily. They warp. Just, save yourself the trouble. There are some really good ones. They're just very expensive. So if you're a kitchen person, I mean, those are chef knives. Let's be honest. I know someone who could probably hook you up with how to get a hold of them, but you're still going to spend a pretty penny.
So you're saying we should get some Cutco knives?
Cutco are not bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're not bad.
To make your own knives, come with me over to my forge, and we can get you started on smithing your own knife. I'm in the middle of making one myself right now, a kitchen knife for our kitchen. That's will be separate from the rest of our kitchen.
Nice.
A lot of
I might do that.
forging
I would
videos,
like
and
to
I've always been
bring.
interested.
I'm ready to reutilize my metallurgy knowledge.
I have the space.
Anyways, going back to, yes, you have lots of space. But going back to our topic, no, I don't have an altar in my kitchen. If I have an altar, it would be the stove. It would be the countertops. It would be the big, I don't know, sink that I dump all the stuff in, and my husband eventually comes around and washes the dishes for, because that's the deal. If I cook, he washes. It's not a great system, but it's our system.
If it works, it works, right? If it works,
right.
It works.
So while I consider myself a kitchen witch, I'm beginning to realize that that's not the only area that I actually practice in, because as we've discussed before, you know, I'm doing other things. Like, we have our witch's wash. That's not in the kitchen. I mean,
Yeah.
my mortar and pestle might be in the kitchen for a time being because that's where the best light is when I'm doing my pinches and my incantations and reading from my recipe cards. But
We're not doing it in the dark with a cloak on and reading Latin or anything like that. We're not like summoning.
No. No.
You might.
No. I mean, other people can. If that's your gig, that's your gig. That's your craft. I'm not gonna say that's my craft, but you know, that's not what I do.
Family members asked me, like, are you huddled in? Are you going to do your podcast and huddle in your little corner? And I was like, that's not what we do.
Dude,
that would be awesome.
Is a recipe for catching yourself on fire.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't wear a cloak because
it depends on the cloak.
I caught myself on fire.
Okay, it depends on the cloak. There's a reason that we welders wear cotton or wool, because that shit don't catch on fire very easily. Now I will say that when I'm out, like, I love camping. I will say this every single podcast we have. I love camping. And you know how I love to cook camping? Over the fire. I
the best way.
2 different cauldrons specifically for camping. Okay, Dutch ovens, cast iron Dutch ovens. They are not enameled. Do not take your enameled Dutch oven out camping. I will haunt you. You will ruin that. And they're expensive. Be nice.
Dude.
But I have 2 Dutch ovens that are specifically made to go camping. And they, same with all my cast iron skillets, they go with me. And I have quite a few. That's outside of the SCA, that's how I cook. I cook in the fire pit. And I can do anything there. I've told my husband, as soon as we get a chance, because we haven't actually gone traditional camping together since we've been together, he will have steak on a rock, because the rock adds some flavor.
Yeah,
I don't know why
cook on rocks,
but a hot rock is a great way to sear steak. It is delicious.
I always cook on a hot rock, and then recently I saw that video of those guys cooking on a hot rock and it exploded, and I said, oh, I'm still gonna do it because it just tastes better. I'm dangerous, but isn't it like specific rocks?
I don't know. Well, the part of it is like, when I use a rock, I look for something that's semi-flat. I don't put oils on it, but I do heat it. So, like, it'll be in the fire for maybe an hour, and then I pull it out and set it next to the fire, and I'll put coals around it, to keep it hot.
Those guys are probably setting it right on, right?
It's probably, they probably did a couple of things. They probably, I don't know, because I'm not a geologist. They probably added some water. They may have added some oils, something like that. It may have had a fracture and it exploded that way. I don't know. I didn't see the video. I don't know what rock they were using.
That's great.
But I mean,
way better to cook that way, though. I always find that the camping stuff, what do you call? I don't know, the grill things, they're always so caked with shit from everyone else who has been there, because a lot of people, they don't clean them off afterwards. They just think, oh, it's a grill that everyone's here camping. You ever been to like a campsite where they have like a grill on top of your freaking thing?
Oh, and the fire rings?
Yeah,
yes, but I don't ever use them like that.
I've used them for putting my pots on only, because like Otherwise, no one clean. Even then, no one cleans them. I'm always like there's just meat on there, and I'm like one time there's all rib on it. And I was like,
no, that's why you have a cast iron skillet, and that's why you have a fancy ass Dutch oven. You want it, and also there's a reason that you should put it in your cast iron, especially and cover it if you're doing any kind of protein. The coal dust can add a flavor, and it can be a very interesting flavor. Like I've had somebody make me ash cakes before, delicious. Literally make a dough, throw it in the ash or in the coals, and then pull it out, and it's covered in ash and soot, and it's delicious. However, if you're doing a special protein, like if you're gonna go out and buy some T-bones and you're gonna cook them over a fire, put a lid on it. Like you don't want it to dry out. And because the heat is so inconsistent over a fire, you want that enclosure to keep a relatively even heat all the way around. It'll act like an oven, and just kind of self-baste itself. Especially if you have a good cast iron Dutch oven, it'll have little either ribs on the top so that you can use the lid as a skillet, or little points so that as the condensation comes up, it drips back down. And that will work with the ribs or with the points. It's a very good piece of equipment to invest in, witchery or not. Again, we're talking about crafts today, not paths. So, do you?
Game crafts. Yeah, I mean, this is just what we do. This is just what we do.
And just sharing knowledge with everybody. Because, I mean, let's be honest, not a lot of people get to do some of the things that we have chosen to do. There's not a lot of people that know how to make a beef stew. There's not a lot of people who know how to plow a garden.
It's work.
It is
both
work.
Both are a lot of work and time consuming, and that's what a lot of people also don't have. So, and I totally get that.
Yeah. We're in an age where the information is so readily available that we all think, oh, it's going to be easy because I can figure out how to do it. And then you actually do it, and you realize it's not easy because of how much work it takes.
Yeah, I think just getting the water down there was a chore in itself, because you have to plumb all the pipes down there if you want water. Otherwise, you're bringing your hose and watering your garden every single day. And if you have a big garden, just put some drip line out there. Like, it's just way easier. And so, I mean, we had to plumb everything down there, or pipe everything.
Could you imagine using a hand pump and a bucket to water your garden?
Yeah, oh man, I know I'm talking about all these like first world problems. I'm sorry. Oh, heaven forbid I have to water my plants with my hose.
I know, right?
Now I sound like an entitled little bitch. Sorry, everyone. But man, if I had to back in the day, they really they had the well, or even then you had to go to the river. What if you didn't have a well or a hand pump or anything? Or hey, there's those old school irrigations systems that are what do you call it? Architecture is really interesting. And I'm no math person, so I'm like, math did that. It's just amazing how some back then it's just all these things were built for helping with agriculture.
Yes,
and now we
to
all
help the population.
I complain about watering my garden.
And now look at where we're at.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that have advanced, and I feel like some people, not me, but I have met some people that would be like, you can't use fancy gadgets in your kitchen if you're a kitchen witch. Very few people I've met who are very you have to be super traditional about it. And it's if that's their path, totally fine. They can do that. But I feel like we're in the new age. Might as well use everything if it makes it easier and you have more time to do other craft. Not right.
Well, I mean, okay. The time that people are pulling this traditional thing from, at that time they were using the best technology available to them. And what is technology really? Technology is science applied in an everyday manner. Okay? So, if their kitchen witchery traditionalism says that they have to use cast iron, okay, all right, use it. We still have it. But why would you take an hour to heat up your cast iron over a fire pit? Because if you're a traditionalist, you can't be using the electric stove or the gas stove. You better have a freaking fire pit in your kitchen. Take an hour to heat that sucker up, and then you can boil your potatoes. And don't you be using no peeler either. You better get your paring knife out and try not to hack off your thumb.
Like, that's fine if you want to try it that way, but why not advance with technology?
You don't think that the women or the practitioners, the practitioners of that age didn't go, you know what? I love this new piece of tech. I'm going to use it now. Instead of using the roller kind of, a mortar and pestle, I'm going to use a bowl so that everything stays where I need to stay and it's not going all over the floor.
I'm just going to use a food processor from now on.
You're gonna use, you know what? I have my mortar and pestle, okay, for crafting. I have a mortar and pestle for kitchen stuff. Like, craft does not go in that unless I'm actually cooking something. I know, Kayla, you've seen it. One is very obviously not the other. I also have an electric mortar and pestle for the craft, and I have an electric mortar and pestle for food. They're called coffee grinders. Like, why wouldn't you use the two? There are some things that, I want to beat the crap out of for whatever I'm doing. There's some times where I just want to pulverize it. There's two ways to go. One's going to be a lot quicker, and one's not going to hurt my hand as much. Yeah, it's why put work into something that doesn't need to be worked. I know my coffee grinder is going to go clockwise. I don't use it for banishing things. I use it for bringing. I'm not tearing that thing apart. Not tearing that thing apart just so I can rewire it to go the opposite direction.
But then I'm already over what I'm mad about. It's whatever.
Exactly. Like, that would take way too much time, and I'd just probably get over that hill, But if it's important enough that I'm going to want to do it worshins, then I'm going to just grind it worshins. What about you? I know, because you've been getting into the making, food for the Sabbats and stuff like that. Do you have tools? Is there a specific way that you set about going? Because at this point, it's probably a ritual for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have necessarily specific tools because, it's my mom's kitchen, so technically it's not my kitchen. But I do have certain, place settings. And, like, I have a plate that I'll eat mine off. And I have a specific mug that I broke that I have to get a new one because I broke it. But I got new ones for it. Glassware, and I'm trying to gather some tools, but every time I go shopping, I never find something I like that's going to work well. But I have gotten a knife recently for cutting, and I keep that after I clean it. I do keep it in my room so that it doesn't get used, because also my nephews are over, so they might decide to use a knife to cut their stupid strawberries, and it's like, don't touch my knife. Like, don't touch my tools.
I would suggest, instead of going looking for things, let things find you.
That's a good idea.
Because what was the first thing we talked about with the craft? You shouldn't have to go searching.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You shouldn't
have to go searching. When people always ask, what tools do I need to practice? The one tool you need is yourself. Everything else will come to you.
I got a new actual butter knife for it, too. It's technically a butter or cheese knife, but I got it for that, too. So that came to me.
If you go searching for something, you are not letting the universe put in your way what you need. You could be so focused on getting this one thing. And this is something I have to, tell myself over and over. If you're focused on the one thing, I want that, and I only want that, you're blocking yourself off to everything else the universe could be offering you because you're hyper focused on it.
That's so true. I hyper focus.
I hyper focus too.
Yeah.
You could be missing all the good things that are trying to make their way into your life.
I do, however, have my own set of herbs that I cook with. They're all mine. I have my own set. Because I have, there's just my own, just mine. I don't need my mom going through them because I have all different types of herbs too. And my mom doesn't cook with the same herbs I do, and she cooks with a lot of the same herbs over and over. So I had to go out and find my own, and I used to be obsessed with cooking rosemary. I still love cooking with it because I have a ton of it. But I've actually moved on to saffron for a lot of my stuff, like because it just gives a really different aroma, and I'm like obsessed with it for some reason. But my herbs are mostly mine. It's like so I have like herbs that those are mine, and I'm very, very for some reason I'm very particular about anyone touching my herbs. Mom's like, do you have this? I'm like, I might. Like, but you gotta give it like right back. Sometimes she'll hoard it, and I'm like, give me my bag. I need that. But I like to share too. So I mean, like, I'm all talking a lot of smack right now, but I definitely am like, yeah, okay, definitely take it, mom. But inside, I'm like, mine. But other tools though, I don't know. I just use a bowl when I'm mixing things. I have that speed mixer, so I have to share that. I'm a little too broke right now to go spend like, how much do those KitchenAids cost?
I got mine on sale.
See, I just need to look out for a sale. But yeah. I do use a lot of the things that my mom actually doesn't use. So when I go to use any of her tools, I cleanse them usually. So before I use any of them. And there are certain things she doesn't use that like I know she's never used. So I'm just like, that's kind of mine now. Like, she has like an egg yolk separator. She doesn't use that. I mean, I use the shell usually, but I use it for something else. I use that for a totally different thing when I'm cooking. I'm like, I use all sorts of different things now that she doesn't use. And I have found a few like random items that like you only use once. Like I found like, I forgot what it was. It was some weird cutter, but you used it for like some tiny little fruit. I think it was a kumquat cutter or something. It was weird. And I like found it and I got it. My mom never uses it.
Kumquat cutter?
I don't use it for that. I use it for something
else.
Use
a paring knife. It's a kumquat. It's like this big around.
I know, but it was one of those like, you know, as seen on TV that someone made just because they thought it would be something cool, and it obviously didn't make a lot. But it was because it was so small. That's why I call it a kumquat cutter. And it was like one of the, I don't know. So I use it for like cutting really tiny cakes. Like, because I'll make little fairy cake type things for my offerings. And I'm like, it's great. So, and then we have some, I do have cookie cutters that I have for myself that are for my craft specifically because I like cutting a lot of shapes for my offerings and stuff. So.
Well, that's awesome.
I'll cut them out. I like making shapes. For like my pies too, like when I made those offering pies, I have the like a flower shape one too I'd cut out. So I liked those. Put those on. So I have very few tools, I guess. I had to think about it more. But I just
what about
use the
you,
traditional
Cliff?
stuff.
Cliff, what do you use in the kitchen?
Whatever's within reach at this moment. I'm not very specific. I have cast iron stuff. I am very lazy about cleaning it correctly. I have to go through and re-season all of our cast iron because I just haven't cleaned it correctly.
I do it in the winter when it can use the heat in the house. Only time I do it.
I will take our cast iron over to the forge, and we'll actually season it in one of the barbecues.
Oh, nice.
So it's all outdoors. We don't have to worry about smoking anybody out. Just crank the barbecue all the way up, toss all the cast iron in there, and season it that way. Other than that, nothing particular. I have, I have special glasses that I use for certain things that I'm drinking. But, certain beers require certain glasses. Certain liquors require certain glasses.
Sippy cup.
My wife is commenting. She's all, he uses whatever I put in there, and then I yell at him and the kids for messing them up.
Yep.
So that's how that goes. I do the majority of the cooking. But I'm I used to like to cook. I am not a big cooker anymore.
It's okay.
Tara, I love you.
Tara, I feel like I love your death raviolis, so don't worry. So you can feed me those death raviolis every day.
You should come over to a barbecue and bring the death raviolis.
Yes, please do. Please
do.
do.
Death raviolis anymore because they're not gluten free.
I'll trade
she would have
jam.
Free death raviolis.
I'll help. I'll trade
jam. That
jam.
sounds so sad. I like my gluten.
Well, it doesn't apparently like you.
I guess. Well, you know, guys, I think this is I think we need to do this topic more often, but I think we need to like show off how we do things in the next time. What do you guys think about that? What do you people in the comments think? Like,
you want to see me cook?
You guys want to see us do some craft in the kitchen, maybe?
I'll post my what was it? What did I already forgot what holiday it was from. Remember I did that the freaking Cornish game hens, and I made a video for it.
Yes, on Instagram she did some stuff like that. she did put some videos up on Instagram, and on TikTok. I think
it's on there too.
Of a couple of the Sabbath meals that you made.
I like to make little videos out of it. It just makes it better.
And since we have some people who are actually talking to us through the chat, why don't you guys offer us a topic? We will include it in our lineup, because we always want to know what people want to talk about, and we love having discussions. Let us know if you want to join us, be a guest. We don't care what your practice or your craft is, as long as you're welcome us to talk to you about it, and are open-minded. Then we'd love to have a discussion. That's what we're doing. We're just discussing things.
Just talking about it.
Yes.
I'm not no expert. You like that
and
language.
Cooking, I need to go pick up
I
some
put it.
So
Adios then. I will post
everybody
that
have a great night. We will talk to you